call this meeting of the Committee of the Whole to order at 6:13. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Allen?
Here.
Mayor Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Burchett?
Here.
Mrs. Witt?
Here.
Ms. Marcus?
Here. We have the approval of the minutes from the meeting on May 23rd. If anybody has no changes, no corrections, they will be approved as they are. Hearing none, they are approved. Finance Director,
No report, thank you.
Manager, Acting City Manager,
I have nothing, ma'am, thank you.
Mayor,
I have nothing, thank you.
Law Director.
I'm going to break the streak. I have two items to request. The first is for an executive session at the end of this meeting with no business to follow for matters pertaining to labor negotiations with respect to public employees, terms, conditions, and compensation of employment, and with respect to terms and conditions and compensation of employment of a public employee. I would just need a vote for that, please.
I'll make a motion that we ask for an executive session per the law director, all that she outlined.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
The second item I have, ma'am, is to request a vote to add an item to the business portion of this agenda. The city received notice of a Kroger National Opioid Settlement similar to the other ones that we have authorized the city to enter into participation agreements and in order to participate in the settlement funds from those settlements. And we would like to add this to the agenda in order to request legislation for the next meeting in order to participate in this Kroger opioid settlement.
Make a motion that we add the Kroger opioid settlement fund to this meeting tonight.
Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
That's it, thank you.
Okay, Clerk of Council.
I have nothing, thank you, Ms. Marcus.
Going to business. The first item is the ED/GE agreements, Project Crispy.
Yes, I'll be talking on that EDGE agreement. So the City of Moraine was successful with securing an EDGE grant for Project Crispy, now known as Shears. Montgomery County does require an agreement between the city and county, as well as an agreement between the city and the prospect, Shears. Montgomery County will be providing the contract between them and the city, and will also provide a template of the needed agreement between the prospect and the city. So the city manager is asking for legislation to be prepared, allowing him to enter into both agreements.
I'll make a motion that that legislation be prepared.
Questions or comments? Roll call.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have we actually secured the business?
It's not
Not official.
not at this time officially, but it's in the workings currently. Jobs Ohio is adding $500,000 in addition to this, which would leave Shears with $105.2 million to complete the rest of the project if they were to move into that space.
So any idea when we will know for sure that we secured this?
That will probably have to be a conversation between Mr. Davis, I think, at this time. I do not have any information on that.
So this is just agreeing to the EDGE agreements.
Correct, yes, yes.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I did.
Okay, and did we need two separate motions for both agreements, or no?
We can just have one motion.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes. The next one is the 2024 property liability insurance renewal.
Yes, thank you. This is an annual item that we have about this time every year. Our property and liability insurance policy renews on August 1st, And for this year, we recently received the renewal, and it has gone up 5.28% from last year. So the total cost would be $219,088. However, the Public Entities Pool of Ohio has offered a discount to try to take the edge off of that price of $8,057. So it would reduce the cost to $211,031. So this policy is very comprehensive, and it covers all of our buildings, vehicles, public officials' liability, as well as cyber security liability, and a litany of other things. So they've been a very good provider for us for many years. We've been a member of the pool since its inception. And some highlights this year, there's slight increases across the board, just like the last few years. In general, the insurance market across the world is very tricky right now. So it's costing more everywhere, and just things like vehicle prices have gone up, right? So when we go to fix vehicles, it's more expensive, and when we go to sell vehicles, they're more they're worth more now than they used to be. So all of that has to be taken into account. Some of the trending issues right now are cybersecurity coverage. So the pool has tried to beef up their cyber breach coverage and then their cyber liability coverage as much as they can. So they've done a comprehensive review of all of the members and their cybersecurity measures over the last 2 years. We did pass that, thankfully, so we're able to get that coverage here. So that's always a hot topic these days. So with that, I'm just asking for legislation for the next city council meeting to renew the property and liability insurance policy.
It went up 2.8%.
5.28%.
What?
5.28.
Motion, I'll make a motion that the necessary legislation be prepared.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Daugherty?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes. The next one is our Kroger opioid settlement discussion.
Yes, ma'am. So as mentioned a few minutes ago, basically the city was notified of its ability to participate in this opioid settlement. So we're requesting, similar to what we've done in the past, that legislation be moved forward to the next meeting, authorizing the city to participate and the city manager to execute any necessary documentation for that.
I'll make a motion that we have legislation drawn up for the Kroger opioid settlement for the next meeting.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mr. Daugherty?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes. That concludes business. Staff and council reports. Let's start with the fire department.
Nothing to report, ma'am. Thank you.
Parks and Rec,
I have nothing to report. Thank you, ma'am.
planning,
No report, thank you.
engineering,
Nothing to report. Thank you.
building and zoning,
Nothing to report, thank you.
clerk of council,
I have nothing. Thank you.
law director,
Nothing further. Thank you.
finance director,
I have nothing, thank you.
acting city manager and police department.
I have nothing, ma'am. Either of us. Thank you.
Mayor,
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Mr. Burchett,
No report. Thank you.
Mr. Daugherty,
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Mr. Miller,
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Mrs. Witt.
Just to wish all the fathers a happy Father's Day this coming Sunday. For your father.
Mrs. Allen.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
And I have nothing to report either, so at this time, we will adjourn to executive session with no business to follow.